Hey everyone, welcome to Love Your Body podcast. On today's episode, I have an amazing guest. I'm going to introduce her in just a second, but I do want to just say a huge thank you to Crane Fitness Equipment for all their help with my new Love Your Body gym that I have at my house. And if you've been following on Instagram and you've been checking that out, you're able to see the transformation of the shed to gym, and I'm so excited for that. And so they have really just gone over and above from delivery to just like the product to even cross promoting and things like that. So if you're a gym owner looking for new equipment, or you're somebody that, just wants a home gym for themselves, or, wants to work with me and maybe one of my guests, or my guest today, her online program, like it's really beneficial to have things right there at your house so you can not make excuses. So, with further ado, we're going to introduce Sabrina Fisher today. Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm fabulous.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you on. So, for those of you who listened to the episode with Antonio Ingram, we mentioned Sabrina on there. And so he was talking about how you were one of his clients, for, I guess it was a year fully?
Um, 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Before I became,
Yes.
yeah,
A part
we
of.
started transitioning probably me like 4 months in maybe.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. So tell me a little bit about, real quick, just about like where you're from and all that. And then I want to get into just kind of what you're doing now with everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm born and raised out of Nashville.
Okay.
And I still live around here, which is very rare to find.
Yeah.
I hear.
I feel that. Yep.
So, but yeah, born and raised in Nashville. And now I wear many hats.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I wonder how I do it myself. But I work for the state of Tennessee.
Okay.
And I'm the executive assistant to the general counsel from Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
Love that.
And a contracts analyst to get grants and funding out to, you know, providers. And last year, I became an online fitness coach or a certified trainer to become an online fitness coach.
Right.
Because, and the correlation between all of those is I just love helping people.
Yeah.
And over time, I kind of realized being in the mental health and just doing a lot of like self-reflection is that I think that's part of my healing journey from my childhood and just life in general and what I've went through.
Yeah.
Is that for me to heal, it's to help others.
Yeah. I love that. I listened to Joe and them's podcast, The Relentless Pursuit, and saw you on there. And so I got to hear a little bit about your backstory with everything from, I think it was a traumatic accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but were you, can you touch on that just a little bit?
So I've rode motorcycles since I was probably like 21.
Yeah.
And I ride. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not a backpack to somebody.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that night I was.
Uh-huh.
Because we just went down the street and a drunk driver turned out and we had an accident and I died at the scene. It cracked the helmet and my skull open, which honestly I'm glad it did because if it would not have cracked open, I would have died.
Really?
From hemorrhaging of the brain.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah. So, and believe it or not, I have one scar on my foot because I had high heels on because I'm that girl.
Those high heels, man, they'll get you every time.
But honestly, it only cracked my head open. So,
wow.
but crazy
Only.
enough.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Like
I get
as far
you.
as scars from it.
Right. Yes.
And
It's crazy.
but I walked away. Not walked away. I'm like there was
Right.
healing in process, but now you'd never know it.
Yeah.
And I actually do studies with Vanderbilt now and other colleges and research studies across the world.
That's
Because they
amazing.
include me because they want to study my brain, like my knowledge, how I respond to things, because they're trying to come up with a way to understand how to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I took 2 massive blows to the brain and I have 0 residuals from it.
Which is crazy. I don't know, for me, like I'm spiritual. So for me, that's a God thing,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
but I love that they are taking note and that you can have that example, you know what I mean? And be that person.
Yeah.
So were you before the accident, was it, you hear about different revelations with severe trauma, right? Was it like, you just realized, man, life is short, I'm gonna make the most of it? Or did you kind of have that mentality prior or?
So I've always been a happy person. Like anybody who knows me, like people meet me in person, they're like, wow, you're really how you are on social media. Like I'm me all the time.
Yes.
But I can say that after that accident, things that used to bother me and that I would get mad over, it's not worth it. Like I had an all black SS Monte Carlo and I had gotten it painted.
Yeah.
And it was probably like 6 months after that accident. And somebody parked their motorcycle next to it and they didn't put it in gear. So it rolled and it fell onto my car. And everybody was like,
man.
oh my God, Sabrina's about to kill him. And I'm like, it's fine. And they're
Right.
like, And I'm like, it's a car.
Yes.
It has a dent.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Right.
I'll get it fixed.
Yes.
So, and the biggest takeaway from that accident is I truly believe that every person is designed uniquely by God with a purpose.
Yeah.
And I've always said that until my purpose is fulfilled and I've done what He has designed for me to do,
right,
I'm not going anywhere.
Yes. I definitely feel the same.
So that in turn, when that happened, made me even step into that even more because I used to tell my parents, because they're like, you're going to die on that motorcycle. And I'm like, not if God don't want me yet.
Right.
So when we got done, like with that accident, I kind of looked at my parents. I'm like, told you.
Right.
Like, he's not done with me yet.
They're like, this isn't the time. But you're like, yeah. Well, and how old were you when that happened?
Oh, gosh. It happened in 2010.
Okay.
So it was 13 years ago.
Okay.
So I was 25.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's wild. And so do you still ride this day?
I don't own a motorcycle right now, but I'll ride.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a really good rider. So I have tons of friends that if I just call them and say, hey, I want to ride, they're like, okay.
Okay. All right.
So I still ride.
Yeah. I'm not the best driver, as we were just talking about. So I just had to have my car in the shop. So it's always so funny because, when I was living in Midtown, I was like, oh, I could just like get a bike and like do that. And like, because it was like a mile away from the gym that I train at. And I was like, oh, that'd be so fun or whatever. And everyone's like, yeah, no. Like, because honestly, I'd probably run into a person just like, but like going 5 miles an hour, like on a bike, And so I was like, yeah, y'all probably right. I'll just walk like, or whatever. So I can't, I mean, it's cool that you were able to not only, turn the negative into a positive, but lean into what you knew you were meant to do. So I love that because I think so many people could easily have looked back at it and been like, why me? Why did this happen? And just taken a very negative side of things, and lived in that. But so I know you had said, so with your job, helping with like mental health and everything like that. So are you, like when you are training clients and everything, do you put an emphasis on their mental health? Do you?
100%.
Okay. Awesome.
I don't actually start really doing the physical part of it until we have an understanding of where their mental headspace is.
Yep.
Because me, myself, from experience, I have been on a huge, I don't even want to say fitness, but body roller coaster since I was a child.
Okay.
I was an overweight kid. So most of my stretch marks on my body aren't from being pregnant. It was from being an overweight child.
So were you did you do movement, but you just ate poorly, or was it you didn't do any movement, just ate whatever?
I played video games.
Okay.
I'd ride a bicycle, but my mom didn't have me in any sports or anything. I was bulimic in high school because, go into high school and this. And then, and then the motorcycle wreck happened. And the motorcycle wreck after that kind of drove me to like going, oh, well, I'm going to prove everybody wrong because I couldn't walk after the motorcycle wreck either. I had to relearn how to walk. So I paid my car off. It's going to sound really funny. I was like, well, what am I going to do with this extra car note money? I was like, you know what? I'm going to hire a trainer.
Okay.
But the trainer, it was a great trainer. But they didn't really have the nutrition in it. So what I did is I just got really skinny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't eating right. I was exercising like crazy. So, and, it was just a roller coaster. I got married.
Yeah.
And I was told I spent too much time at the gym. I spent more time at the gym than with him. And
yeah.
But then when I didn't go, he'd complain that I got fat.
Right.
Or I wasn't fat either.
Right.
But I was gaining weight. And I'm just like.
It's always a double-edged sword. It's like, I hate that. Like, I talk about that all the time, especially with my clients, because it's like, you got to have someone that is here to support, and that's something that I talk about with a client, like assessment, is say, hey, are you married? Are you single? Like, and again, someone would be like, oh, well, like, why do you need to know that? It's like, well, that has a huge factor on how this journey is about to go for you. Yep. And I'm not saying that every man is like that. Obviously, there's great supporters and great, husbands and partners and, that have helped with my clients, stuff like that. But yeah, it is kind of frustrating.
Yeah. But I can get back to that. I know I kind of went sideways with your question. You're good. But even in my, I do calls with potential clients.
Yeah.
Because for me, being a coach and helping somebody, it's not a job to me.
Yeah.
It's something that I desire to do so women or individuals never have to feel what I felt in the past.
Yep.
Which there is a whole storybook about what I've been through. Most people would have no idea.
Yeah.
But so on the call, I tell them at the beginning, like, we have to make sure we're a good fit for each other.
For sure.
And because, at the end of the day, if they're not serious about it and I know that it's not going to be good for them,
Yeah.
I won't work with them.
Yes.
You know, and it's not saying no, you know, you're just not good.
No,
but
right.
if their headspace isn't there,
For
if
sure.
they're not doing it for the right reasons, you know, like,
Yep.
and, you know, it's all about loving themselves. Like, I've even taken it down to a point where sometimes on one of my assessments, you know, it's like, how do you feel about it? You're like, what's your favorite part about your body?
Right.
And, you know, that tells me something. And there are times that I literally give them assignments that they have to look in the mirror
Yes.
for like 5 minutes every morning, completely bare. And I was like, cry, scream.
Right.
But until you can look at your body and love it where it is,
Yeah.
I can't help you get it to where you want it to be.
Right. And I think a lot of people listening are kind of like, that's a hard pill to swallow, right? And they're going to take that and be like, wow, like that's kind of intense, right? Like a trainer is just a trainer, or like we're just here to do movement. But anyone who knows, who's worked with either you or me, both know that like you have to have that mindset. Like you have to be on that holistic approach of that component, because again, hating yourself to being, you know, SKI and NY, like that's just not going to, that's not going to vibe with either of our methods. But also, it's just not a way to live, you know. And
you're gonna do it out of resentment.
Yeah, and my whole thing is, it's like I've been there. Like I've done that too. I've had it where I didn't have the nutrition. I was told to eat less, and you know, and I looked at myself, and I remember being like, yeah, I mean, I look like everyone else, and then I was frustrated because it made me angry. I was like, I don't look strong.
Okay.
Like I remember looking at a friend being like, yeah, like literally if somebody were to come like, you know, like try to like mug us right now, like they're going to take all my stuff. You know what I mean? Like I can't get a fit myself. I don't look strong. I don't, you know, anything like that. And now I really pride myself when I walk that it's like, you know, trying to keep that masculine energy, you know, in tune with the feminine. But when I walk, like I tell everyone, you know, stand up straight, like open up your chest, like be open to this. It'd be like, no, like you're not, like I see you. You're not going to mess with me. You know what I mean? Like it's just, again, it's not to be negative or be mean, but it is that whole like, you know, show up for yourself and like be that person and like own it.
Yep.
And you get that through movement. You get that through feeling empowered and strong. And you have to do the hard stuff, like looking at yourself and having that moment of like, yeah, I mean, this is what it is. Like, you know, I know that it can be better, but I don't have to hate what's going on right now.
Yep. I always tell my clients and our clients and people in general, I'm like, love yourself so much where you are right now that you love yourself into the next best version of yourself.
Yep, for sure.
Because to me, that is the key thing. I don't know if you saw my story recently, and like I'm going to try really hard not to cry when I see this, but a client sent me a testimony. And it's a really long one, but at the very end, the thing that really hit me is she's battled stage 4 cancer and she's been through a lot. And at the very end, this ties in with, do I get them with their mental?
Yeah.
Is that she had planned to get a lot of tattoos to cover up her scars. And she said by the end that she loves her body so much right now that looking at those scars remind her of what she's been through, and she loves them and she's not going to tattoo over them.
I love that.
So
that is beautiful.
But like, again, I'm super passionate. Somebody told me one time, they were like, you put your feelings in this. I'm like, you're right. I do.
Yeah.
Because I don't do this because I have to.
Right.
I do it because I love it and I want to.
Right. I love that. So on that note, with Antonio, so you finally, you know, got with a coach that like understood. He vibed with you. Everything was good. So when you were ready and you were like, okay, I feel like I could also do this, you know, I have battled with, you know, having people work for me or working together, stuff like that. Like, how did you go from client trainer to coach and coach, or like, how did that work for you?
So he asked me one time, he was like, what are your aspirations? And I was like, I don't know. And I have an answer for everything. Like I mean, I do.
Yeah.
And I really didn't. And I think it's because a couple years before, you know, I had gotten out of a marriage. I went through a lot of counseling, a lot of just, it was a very rough journey. And I was trying to find my way again, you know? And I think I had concentrated so much on finding that I've like figuring out like, how do I be happy again?
Yeah.
And I found the happiness, but I was like, now I need to look forward.
Right.
So I thought about it and I was like, I really want to help people, right? Like it's not like I feel pity for anybody, but it's the bigger thing of like, again, what I've been through in my life.
Yeah.
Like there's really traumatic things.
Yeah.
And I know people use that word so lightly.
For sure.
but I don't. And I know that. And I'm sure that when I say that, people are like, oh, she's probably, no, like,
No, yeah.
like it's really bad,
Yeah.
you know? But I was like, I want to help people to never feel what I did feel. And if they did, help them get out of it, because I didn't have anybody.
Right.
Like, I had to claw my way out of it.
Yeah.
And I got to really dark, bad places, even to a point of wanting to kill myself.
Right.
And I don't want anybody to ever feel that. And I want to be the person I never had.
Yes.
And I went to him and I was like, so you asked me this. And I was like, and I was kind of nervous because I'm like, I don't want him to think like I'm trying to step on his toe or anything. Right. I was like, I want to become because to me, I know we use the word trainer. And you said this, I don't see myself as a trainer because my thing is I don't go in there and just tell you what to do. I'm coaching you. Yeah. I'm coaching you to live a different lifestyle, to love yourself.
For sure.
Because to me, a trainer's just telling you what to do when you do it.
Yep.
A coach is going to teach you how to do things on your own.
Yeah.
To me, that's my opinion.
No, for sure.
So when people say trainer, I'm like, coach.
Yes, yes.
But I went to him and I said, I said at the time, I was like, I want to become like a certified trainer. Yeah. I want to become a coach. And he just sat back and he smiled. He said, I've just been waiting on you. I was like, what? Wow. He said, I've seen it in you all along. Yeah. And I was like, why didn't you say anything? He said, because I wanted you to do it for you and not because somebody else said it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But I mean, it was really a transition for him too, because he's always worked alone.
Right. Yeah.
And so it meant and it still means a lot to me. Yeah. That he took a chance on me. For sure. Like, and I always tell him, he's always like, what's your goal? I'm like, to make you proud. Like, like it really is.
I love that. I love that.
And so yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that if you would have been like the roles reversed, right? Like if you would have been, training and everything like that, or, coaching, and you had, like Antonio was like, I don't want to use Antonio for example, but like you had a male like client or whatever, and he said this kind of thing, and you were like, I was waiting for you. Like, do you think that the dynamic would work with the female being the one who had already established like the business and then having a male role? Or do you feel like it's so much more common for a male to have a female train, you know what I mean? A female coach under them, or have female and female. Like,
it's so funny that you say that, because it's like, I think it's going to be based on the individual, because I really don't see a man going to a woman and saying that. Like, I just don't.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I really, and I like, sorry guys, if you're out there, but realistically, like if you think about it, there's not, like, I can't think of any man that's ever went to a woman and said, hey, I want to become a coach or a trainer. Let's do this. I feel like if a man does have that mentality, they're just going to go find a man to do it.
Right. Yeah.
I really do.
So
unfortunately,
with my experience with that, and it wasn't that with Blake, it wasn't that he was my, like, I trained him, right? But he wanted to learn the business and he wanted to get into everything. Right. Yeah. And, it was so difficult for us, because whether it was like egos or whether it was, not adhering to like how the structure and things like that. Like, I mean, to me, it feels like the kind of like energy you put off, or whatever, that like if someone's like, hey, we're doing this, and this, you're like, let's go. Like, I'm going to capitalize. You know what I mean? Like, go get her, love yourself, whatever. And so we just had to deal with different personality types, and it just did not kind of mesh in that way. Right. Great person, love him to death, but it just didn't vibe, right? So I'm always so interested in that, and I'm like, man, like, I just hate that, like, that, again, there is that standard of, like, because I don't know, do you train, like, do you coach males?
I do.
Okay, which is awesome. And that's what I think is still so, like, I don't know, it's like newer for people too, like they just don't see that. And it's like, but when you look at this, there are a lot of men that need to love their body and need to have that. And so, like, even with me, I remember having like men be like, oh, well, like, how much are you lifting or whatever. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm here to coach you. Right. So it's not a competition. Right. So we can't look at that like that. Like, either let me help you, or like, what are we doing? Right. And I've been blessed to have like great men that are, like that have been appreciative and whatever. But, more so been gearing towards a lot of women and things like that here lately. But yes, I was just wondering about that, like how that's been. But it's really cool. I love to see you guys growing and everything like that. So, something else that we had talked about prior to, getting on the mic and stuff is, in terms of body size, so that people, if they're not watching the live video or whatever right now, and they're just listening, can you describe to me, like how you would explain like your frame, like your body
right now currently.
Yeah.
I it's so crazy. I
Right? It's
I know,
kind of
I'm
hard.
like,
It's kind of hard to say.
and it's funny that you say that because people are probably not going to believe me. But if Antonio is watching this live, he can comment on it and say, like, he's asked me, "What is your body goal?" I don't have one.
Right.
I don't have one because, like I told you before, I just got skinny. I'm not trying to be skinny. I'm trying to be strong.
Yes.
I want to be healthy.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But my body, the way I would describe it, honestly, is realistic.
Yeah.
The normal. I live life.
Yeah.
I enjoy taco.
Yeah.
I
see your
eat.
stories. I know. I love it.
Like, but I'm healthy.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, again, because I don't look at people's bodies like that, and I don't describe that, right?
Right.
So that's why this is kind of like
hard.
a struggle.
Yeah.
It's not because I used to be that way, right? Not, and I don't. But anyways, so like right now, like I've gained like 15 or 17 pounds since October. Yeah. Intentionally because I wanted to become stronger.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I'm leg pressing 610 pounds.
Right.
Which again, we're going to cut. My birthday's in a couple of months.
Yeah.
But
you're living for your life. You're living versus trying to fit in this lifestyle that's unrealistic into your life. Yeah. So no, I love that. And because the reason I ask is with me and like going through my preps and stuff like that for bodybuilding shows, you know, I look at it sometimes, and so many times I have been like, people have said like, oh yeah, like it's almost like no matter what room I'm in, if I'm in one room, people are like, dang, like that bodybuilder girl, right? If I'm in another room, they're like, oh, that girl like kind of looks like, you see what I mean? Like kind of like, it's literally, it does not matter what space I'm in, no matter who knows, you know, like the Instagram or this or that or whatever. It's especially if I wear certain clothes. And that's why I was explaining to you earlier too, was about like, you know, do you have that ever happen when you're wearing like a t-shirt, sweats, just like vibing? They can't really see your frame. They can't really see your muscles, things like that. Like, do you have it where people are like, yeah, like, you know, do you work out? And you're like, wow, like this is so much more. So that's where like, I love your vision and your mission and how you are helping people, because it is, I feel like, similar to me. And I don't have that a lot because to truly find another confident woman helping people is so difficult, because again, they look at so much of like, okay, model type, like this is this, and there's so many classifications. And like, I used to even be guilty of it, where I would always like say like, yeah, I got large frame. And then I was like looking the other day, I'm like, in these photos and in these videos and these pictures, whatever, it's like you don't, I mean, you've always weighed more. Like I've always had like strong muscles, you know, stuff like that and whatever. And like, even when I was a smaller size and stuff when I was young, but it's like, again, I have embraced my body throughout, no matter what. And just looking at it of like, do I love what I see? And letting go of the weight, letting go of the stigma of like, if everyone always called you this or that, or whatever. Because again, I see constantly people telling me, like clients telling me that they are large bodied. And I'm like, larger body. I'm like, you're not though.
You're your body.
You're your body. Exactly. Your body. And like by no standard would anyone ever say that to them either though. You know what I mean? I'm like, but they have, it's almost this lie they've continued to tell themselves because maybe one time someone said it, or they were told it their whole life by someone they loved. Exactly. You know what I mean? So it just becomes this constant thing that we're having to break through. Yeah. And I've been told before that it's like, yeah, that's not going to change. And I'm like, but I genuinely believe that it can change.
Somebody told me I would never have a butt either, and look at us now.
Hey, exactly. No, 100%.
Tell me it won't watch me.
Right, yes. But again, it can be so frustrating. So, you know, in that space, like, you know, I think that, like, again, understanding where our bodies are at and what they're capable of, but like focusing more on that strength element. And like I've told people before, if you threw out the scale, but you look the way you've always wanted to look, you would not care if you were 250 pounds. Yep. You wouldn't care if you're 150 pounds. Like you wouldn't care.
So the crazy part, if you've ever seen my before picture, like when I started working with Antonio, I was 161 pounds, 161.8. And have you seen that picture like before? Oh, you should go see it. Yeah. Like I'm round. Okay. I'm 165.6 now.
Yes, exactly. I love that. And because again, that was like last night. I said something to one of the trainers at the gym, and he was like saying something about he was like, oh well, yeah, like you know when you weighed whatever for strongman, and I was like, yeah, I mean I weighed in at like 4 pounds heavier than what I am right now, and he was like, really? And you could tell there was this like, but I'm like, yeah, but my body fat is different. My muscle is different. Like my body, like shape, like everything's different. So that is where we get so hung up on this, just the stigma of numbers and whatever. Because even when you say that number, I'm sure some people were listening were like, whoa, like 160, right?
But that's people are like, you weigh like 140, 150. Right. I'm like, no,
yes,
I don't.
But it's ridiculous, you know? And that's where, like, again, accounting for muscle, accounting for all the things, like, and not making exceptions, just being like, it's okay to be that number.
Right.
Those numbers are not bad.
Right.
Just like with the food. I remember I saw a story of you like eating Chipotle or whatever. The food is not bad, right? It is the intention behind why we're doing that, right? Like someone made us upset and, you know, did this or whatever, or cut us off in traffic, so I went and ate a whole pizza.
Right.
And people be like, oh, that's a little dramatic. No, that does happen. And it is. It's comfort eating. It's emotional eating. It's all those things. And, you know, and I think that people just need to be continually reminded that this is normal. That is normal. Like, I was even thinking about it too, watching commercials about like, you know, like, because I love like selling products, like my fight, right? And like, and even like my brand, and just like sharing with people about like what this is and whatever, but like getting them into a healthy lifestyle regimen and everything. But when I was like, man, how easy was it for like those ice cream people back in the day to be like, you know what, how can we play on words? How can we go with emotions? Like, who can we get to, you know, and freaking, you know, getting into movies and where like the woman's crying over the guy. And I mean, that is programmed. That is like, that is society and the internet and all the social contracts like coming at you, telling you how to deal with emotions. You know what I mean? And that is where we have to disassociate, back up, and like get real with ourselves or our coach or our best friend or whoever we want to talk to about this, and have that accountability to be like, yo, like I'm feeling some type of way. I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then if they're like, you know, I've had people and friends before, especially on the beginning of my journey, like, well, you're okay now. Like, yeah, like eat the cookie. And it's like, that's not helping. You know, or they take them out to go drink or the whatever. And it's like, those things aren't helping the problem. Like, but sitting with it. And like, I had a friend, we messaged each other back and forth. We're both competing in wellness. And I had said something like, man, you know, like really kind of struggling like with this, that, and whatever. And she was like, she said something like, don't like, the immediate gratification is not like worth like, you know, the long term, like you're going to, like, that's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. Like the going out or the this or that or whatever, like all of it, it's not going anywhere. You know, like you can't, especially if you're first starting on a healthy lifestyle journey, you know, and again, you know, we don't have to get too much into how you like coach people or whatever, but you know, for me, it's like, I'm like, look, it's not that you're restricting anything. It's just that you're being mindful of it.
You're learning what your body needs.
Yes.
And, all that.
Yeah.
And it's also about the mental, because, you know, I still have a coach. Like I believe everybody needs a coach.
For sure.
And
to say that you don't, I think is very, yeah, you know what I mean. Like to say you know everything, to say that you're currently up to date with all the things coming at you from science or all the different fitness techniques or this or that or whatever, and you have a full-time job and you train and you do this and I'm like, get real.
Yeah. Everything's constantly changing and evolving.
Yes, and you learn from other people. You learn from working out with people. You learn from, you listen to podcasts like this, and you learn so much that it's like I feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself. And I think that where we're looking at is that people look at it as being weak. If you have a trainer, you're weak. If you are, you know, have a coach, like you're weak. Like if you know, use someone to help you with food, you're weak. It's like, no, stop that narrative.
Yeah.
Like I completely believe that with everything, especially as women, everything that we have to do, everything that, you know, you have a son, right? And so it's like, you know, providing for him, but then also getting your workout done, but also doing your full-time job, but also coaching, whatever. I mean, you do so much. It's like, how nice is it to just go into the gym and have a plan already, or to know what your food looks like so you don't have to calculate the macros or do the things or whatever, you know, and all that. And again, it's not that you have to like be attached to that one person forever, permanently, you know, like tattoo them on your arm. But it is something that I do think that so many people are ashamed of or want to hide or whatever, that they need help. And it's like, it's not even, to me, it's not even help. It's just like bettering yourself.
Exactly.
Like making the most out of your one life that you have.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know, because I'll go, like, I don't know how many injuries you've had or anything like that since since your, initial accident and stuff, but, or if you've had any, but like even with me, the PT will say, do this and that and whatever. And you know I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll maybe do a little bit, and I did when I severely got injured.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I could do.
Right.
Everything else was taken away. But then when you add everything else back in, it's like, yeah, I don't really have time for that or this or, you know? And so you make these excuses. So it's like, how nice to just go, show up, and that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Like, that is where I see the benefit.
Right.
You know?
Well, and it's one of those things, too, because, like, I've had a lot go on in the past week.
Yeah.
Again, it's so crazy because if I do talk about it, people's like, I never knew as well. Guys, I don't talk about all my business to everybody.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But I was actually talking to Antonio yesterday, you know, and he's my coach, right? And like that's the thing about having a coach too is like they need to know what's going on in your life to help you get through it. But I remember hearing him clap and like yell because he was like so happy and celebrating because with what had went on through the past week and it's still going on. Instead of driving to a liquor store, I went to the gym 3 times that day. Yeah. And it's not that I went because, I need to go here to stop me from going there. It's that my first reaction to go, I need to relieve stress. Right. I need to scream. I need to do something. I didn't do any of it. Right. I went to the gym.
And you've been in your healthy lifestyle journey for how long?
Probably like 10 or 12 years, but the time was off during the marriage.
Okay, so about the same time for me as well. So with that, I want people to understand that, like, especially if they're new to their journey, that you to still have temptation, like that's still a part of it. Like, I think that some people look at us and they're like, oh, like she doesn't have to worry about, you know, because they assume I'm just going to do it. Which you're not wrong. Like, I am going to stick to my plan. I am going to do stuff whatever because I am so, like, hyper-focused on all that and whatever. I'm not going to let stuff fall through the cracks. But, you know, it still is where it's like, yeah, I don't want to get up and do 200 floors on the stairs. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that sometimes they put us on this pedestal because they're not seeing maybe other females working like this, or they're not seeing the grind, or they're just not, you know, aware of it, and we are so open about it. So with that, do you feel like sometimes you get kind of, I don't want to say mistreated, but taken advantage of maybe? Or do you think that because you are so open with your life that sometimes people, like, they do miss, like, the real stuff? Like, not real, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the underlying stuff going on.
I'll tell you, if I've heard this feedback from multiple people is that I'm too nice, right? But here's the thing is I'm never going to let anybody take me out of character. Right. I just know when to remove myself from a situation.
Which is great.
But it's just like I hear everything you're saying. Like, I have so many thoughts with that one thing. Yeah. Because when you said that, like, the one thing that, like, drives me, that just makes me like, is when people go, well, you've always been skinny. Well, you're just skinny. It's because I work my ass off.
Yeah, exactly.
To be healthy.
And again, it's like, who are you to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, it is so, I don't know, it's so challenging because as a female, like, people don't understand. And again, I'm not trying to make it like male versus female, but there's so many things that, like, men get away with that females don't. Like, for example, when I posted that I'm overwhelmed or this or whatever, some people be like, oh, well, like, I just, like, won't come in and train for, like, a couple weeks then, like, give you some time.
Emotional.
Yeah, or you're being, or this or that or whatever. And it's like, excuse me? Like, you would never say that to your male coach.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And, like, again, it's one of those where it's like, guys, like, you should know that, like, I'm going to tell you if something is too much or not enough or whatever, right? And so for me, it's like, you know, getting better about having those boundaries, like, you know, and saying, like, if you text me after 10, like, I'm not going to respond, right? Just like when I get up at 3:45 in the morning and I text you at 4 a.m., it's not going to be a good time, right?
Right.
You know, like, so let's be mindful, right? And that's where, you know, I think so many times we will press and press and press until someone finally, like, you know, stands up for themselves, right? And I think that with, you know, male coaches, a lot of times we just whatever they say goes, and then people are like, okay, and then they don't question it, right? And it's so many times I'm like, it's almost like you don't want to have resentment for things because, you know, people are just inquisitive or they're just like wanting to know or whatever about your life, but you're just like, man, like, would you approach it the same way?
Right.
You know, so it kind of can wear down on you, I feel like. So I have dealt with that a lot, especially because for me, like, I don't know, are you seeing anyone? Are you married again? Okay. So for me, like, too, it's with being single. I mean, you're providing for a son. I mean, you're, like, doing all this, like, you know? And so it's like, and, like, for me, same, like, in terms of, like, I'm providing for myself, but, like I have, like, this is my only You know, this is everything for me. So I put in all of my emotions, my feelings, everything into it. But when it comes down to business, like there is a structure.
Yeah.
And there is a way to go about doing it. And the way that I program and structure it is for their benefit.
Yeah.
So they stay accountable. They stay in this game. They stay seeing their results, you know? And at any time, like, you know, I have it flexible where like anytime if they are like, you know what, I feel good, I can handle it, like I'm good on my own, whatever, awesome. And I even had a client message me last night and she had my fight canister and she's like, I'm cleared postpartum to her. And she's like, and I said, client, she has not been a paying client for like 2 years, but she's always a client for me, you know, and we will always have that. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, look, like you may not be directly in it, but like when you wear my shirts, when you represent, when you fight for what you want, when you know, post that you're getting your movement, and like that is beautiful and you're setting the example and that mission is carrying on. And that is what's important, you know, and like that's where I want them to understand that too. But again, running a business, you know, so it's like you have to respect those certain things too.
Yeah. I know when I became a coach, one thing that Antonia was really worried about was that people were going to get over on me because it's so nice, because I want to help people. And I told him, I was like, no. Here's what you don't know. Is that when it comes down to business, it's business.
But it can be different. So many people lump it together. And it's like, because like I'm here for them, and everything like that. But on certain level, it's like, you know, whether, because again, I'm not a licensed therapist.
Right.
So on some level, like you know, me like, I guess referring you to a therapist or referring you out to an actual dietitian. Like I'm sports nutrition certified, but like that, like in kind of delegating, you know, because again, I do believe it takes a team. And I know that I know I'm awesome and stuff like that. But again, you know, I am one person.
Right.
And that's not to say that I can't handle everything that I have like taken on. It's just to say that like, let's like be as efficient as possible and like go with it from there.
Right.
You know? And there is learning curves to it too. And there's things that are going to, you know, happen and whatever. But yeah, I hate the whole like emotion side of it or play on that because it's like, would you, I mean, some people may have done that with a male coach or whatever, but like,
it's not as likely.
Right. And that's a very real, and people don't want to talk about that. Like, oh, that doesn't happen. It's like, but it does over and over again. So with that too, you know, do you, because I don't know, where are you only training online? Is it like online? Okay. So
I'm a hybrid coach.
Okay.
So I have the ability to train in person if it's something that we can work out with schedules.
Okay. Gotcha.
But I primarily am just online.
Yeah.
Because of everything else in the world that I have to do.
For sure. And no, I totally get that. And the reason I ask is because I didn't know if you were around like a lot of other like female coaches or anything, or saw like, again, do you feel after losing your weight and things like that and how you feel strong right now, do you feel like you're still looked at as not the typical like coach trainer?
You know, it's funny. I didn't feel like I was looked at as a coach until this is going to be so crazy. People will come up to me in the gym now and tell me that they can tell I'm a trainer. And I'm like, what?
Okay, yeah.
Because of my form.
Exactly, yeah.
It's going to sound so crazy.
No, that's
like,
awesome.
Because, I mean, even going into being a coach and being under somebody like Antonio that already has this establishment built, like the rapport, and I'm just like, who's going to see me in your shadow, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, of course they'll see you. Of course they see you. And they see your grind and they see that. And that speaks volumes. And that's where it is to me, too. It's like, you know, so many times I would be doing amazing, incredible things, but it was just kind of like a,
Yeah.
But now that I look the way that I look and do those amazing, incredible things, whatever, it's more of like, you know what I mean? And that is where it's like, I want people to always look at the work behind. Like, you know, again, there's so many people I feel like who are in the online space, especially, or have just become trainers or whatever, and just become coaches that, you know, again, they're using their body. It's like, work with what you got. I get it. Totally understand, whatever. But like, again, what is your mission? Like, what is like, you know what I mean? Like, what is it? Like, is it, because again, what you're showing me is, you know, drinking, doing this crazy stuff, partying, whatever, and then telling everybody that like, cool, like now we're going to go work out as a punishment.
Yeah.
And like,
no.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and that is where I think some people, especially young people, like they get that, like, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, I'm, you know, I ate this, so I work out as punishment. I do this and whatever. And it's like, no, like, again, we're doing this to like have longevity and
Yep.
to love ourselves and to have a better life.
Yep.
And I don't know, have you seen on Netflix, there's a show called Wellmania? It's like brand new or whatever. Okay. Anyway, long story short, the girl was like in a workout class and she's trying to get healthy, but she's like partier, going on 40, you know, the whole thing or whatever. And she was like doing like a side lunge and she's like minimal effort. And then she literally says like, she's like, what is this? Like, do I have to eat healthy and work out like every day for the rest of my life? And people are like, I mean, like, you know what I mean? But like, it was just so, and she was like deemed like not fit. Like she was like medically like gonna like have a heart attack essentially. And like, and literally it took that for her to be like, okay. And then still she didn't learn, you know? So it's just interesting, like how people, you'll look at it as like, it's so hard, it's so challenging.
Yeah.
But I'm like, not having that healthy lifestyle is hard and challenging.
Well, and it's also, so one thing I work with, not just like their mental aspect, but it's their relationship with food. And that's huge to me because I used to have a bad one, right? Like I was told to eat like a bird, you know, and just do this, that, and the third. And, but it's a relationship. Yeah. Like, because I recently had a client say, well, I want to teach my daughter well, but, you know, she got me a cake and I didn't want to eat the whole piece of cake because I felt horrible afterwards. And I'm like, no. I was like, that cake wasn't a reward. Right. The cake was a celebration of you. Yeah. So you eat it. Yeah. But it's all about balance. You know, just don't, you know, eat cake every day, all day, you know, but you know, but again, it's because society has made you think that like a chocolate cake is just going to, you know, do this, but it's like, you can have the cake. Well, you just don't eat the cake every meal for every day of the week.
Well, even for my dad's birthday, I mean, I went and picked him up a alpha cookie and like got him like one of those,
There's better alternatives.
Right. And then my mom got him like a slice of cake. Yeah. Okay, so that was awesome because, again, portion control. We weren't trying to be like, hey, we're going to get a whole cake for everybody to eat. Like, it was so awesome. Yeah. But that right there has taken, I mean, years of them seeing me, years of changing the mindset, like, and having to change the mindset through setting the example. Right. And that has been, like, crazy to watch. And I love that. But that's why I'm trying to tell people, I'm like, they might not know now. They may not see you right now. They may not understand right now. But if you do this and you keep going, not that you're doing this for them, but just know that like people will understand. So if you feel like you're like just guiding through this, you know, you're like feeling very lost and feeling very like overwhelmed or whatever, and you don't, and everyone's kind of attacking you, like know that like those voices, and it's because you're going to get stronger, you're going to get more confident, will subside. Yep.
And that mind monsters, that's what I call them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And you know, you talking about like your parents, you know, and everything. The thing that actually put me back into fitness after the divorce was one, just I wanted to do it on my own without a trainer, without a this. Right. And I got to a point where I was just like I got a free challenge thing and I was like, oh, this works. Well, and I vibed with him. But the biggest thing when he asked me like, what is your number one goal? Yeah. I said to be the best example for my son because I was that overweight child. So my son is my why. And guess what? He's 7.5. Yeah. And like, he will always ask for water. Like, I don't make him eat anything. I don't not let him eat anything because my mom had a very, we both had unhealthy relationships with food because my mom was forced to eat and my mom did not guide me to eat, if that makes sense. So for my son, what I said, well, here, I'm going to do it different. I'm trying to be a generational curse breaker. Yeah. Is that I'm just going to set the example for him. Exactly. And let him make his best decision. Yeah. Because to him, I'm the strongest person in the world. Right. Like he goes in the gym and like there's just like hearts coming out of his eyes when I work out because he thinks I am strong now. Yeah. You know, I wasn't this strong 2 years ago. Right. But he knows now. Yeah. Well, if I eat, you know, he'll make a joke. He's like, "Mommy, are you going to protein poot?" Right?
Oh my gosh, that's so
But again, for it to be 7, right? And he understands it though. And he's, you know, he'll come home. He's like, "Did you eat lunch today?" He's like, "Mommy, you got to have your energy." He's like, "You need to eat." I love that. And I love it because he'll ask why I do things. Yes. And he's learning. Right. And he's strong. And he eats good. And it's not
and
because
there's
I'm
nothing,
having to make him.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that either, too. You know what I mean? Because, again, we look at so many times, I think, you know, people just try to put it in a box of like it's restrictive or it's overindulgence or it's this or that or whatever. But like you just said, you literally set an example. Your son sees that. They take in everything. Yep. Kids take in everything. And I believe even with like partners, they do as well. You know, so it's like they acknowledge that. And, you know, a lot of times as a female of the house, like you have that responsibility and that weight, and it can be overwhelming. It can be a lot and everything like that. But I said something to somebody, I don't know who I was talking to the other day, but it was like, if I don't do this for myself first, I'm only going to have resentment for the rest of the day with those things. So even like you're talking about like how today, like you got to get all these things done and whatever, it's like, you have to prioritize yourself and your health and your mental health, and then you will do the other things that you're supposed to do. It just might not be right there, that immediate.
It may not be in the order you put it.
Yes, exactly.
I've told people before too, because this was my mind shift that was effective for me, is because I really do. Like, I care for people, right? Like, I love helping people. And what makes me happy is helping people.
Right.
But it got to a point where that hurt me because I would help other people before helping myself.
Right. Yeah.
So after everything, my mentality shifted to go, I'm always first.
Yeah.
And I'm first because I want to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
For you.
Yes.
For this podcast. For my son. For my clients. For my friends. But I'm doing them a disservice and a dishonor if I'm not taking care of me to the best of my ability for them to get the best version of me.
And that's why, too, again, society has sold this lie to a lot of females saying, hey, you have to put everyone above, you got to put your husband, you have to do this, you have to be like whatever. And I really do. My life completely changed when I finally put myself first. And some people can look at it as like, oh, that's selfish, or that's this or that, or whatever. It's like, I can't do, if you're amazed at what I do on a daily basis, like I will not be able to do all that if I don't get my workout in. You know what I mean? That is my mental release. If I don't take care of my food, if I don't take care, those things have to get done to be able to serve everyone better. And when I first started my you decided to put yourself first. Like you had to do that first. And then you were able to start all of this. And look at what's happened. You would have never, I don't know if you ever had envisioned like this being your life.
No.
Right?
No. But it's so funny because when I did step into it, other people were like, we knew that was coming.
Yeah.
We've just been waiting on it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't see that.
And that's where I think we get so much in our own way. And that is where, like, I've been talking about that a lot lately of, I know, like, the same thing. Like, I see, and you probably have clients that you see now, too, but you're like, man, if they would just, and you're like, you could have everything you've ever wanted.
Yep. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, I see what I see in you, but it doesn't matter until you see it.
Yes.
And I tell them, I was like, I can be here for you. I can give you everything you need. I can give you a blueprint, but I can't make your feet move.
Right. Exactly. And also, too, it is like, this. It is an intentional commitment. It is money. It is time. It is work. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to have a healthy lifestyle. We're not saying it's easy. We're not saying whatever. But if you want to continue to see those goals, you want to continue to keep fighting for what you want, like, you have to continue to progress. You have to continue to change the weights. You got to continue to follow programs and, like, do all of that. It is not just me and Antonio talked about this, like, the challenges that he does, like, and then I've done it, whatever. It's not just do that and then, like, you're good.
Yeah.
Like,
And see, that's another thing is because of, like, the Amazon Prime era.
Yeah.
And surgeries and BBLs.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, realistically, like, and it's not talked about enough. Like, if somebody does have a goal, realistically, that goal's not going to be hit for probably a year or two.
Right.
Like an actual body.
Yeah, say that again.
If you have a realistic goal, like, hey, I want my body to look like this.
Yes.
It's not going to happen for about a year or two. It takes work. It takes time. And here's the crappy part. And I'm speaking to myself when I say this.
Yeah.
Is even a year later, I look and I'm like, that's it? But that's looking in the mirror.
Yes.
But then if I put myself next to a picture from a year ago,
that is
I'm
why
like,
you take the pictures.
I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
There's a bubble back there now, like,
yeah.
it's like you don't see it in the moment.
Correct.
But you have to trust the process.
Yes.
and you have to continue it. It's not one of these things to go, oh, okay, I finally got to the finish line. No, this is not a marathon. Like it's not a race. And it's a journey.
And also there is probably, I don't know the percentages. I can't even touch on the percentages, but like there's a small percentage of people who genetically, you guys, metabolic rate on point, athlete status, you know what I mean? Like, and then they don't work out. So they can't relate to this and whatever, but that's not, if you're listening to this right now and you're like, well, that's not me, then it ain't you.
It ain't
and
me
it's
either.
not gonna, you know what I'm saying? It's not me. It's not going to be.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We work with what we got, what we have going on, our, strengths, our weaknesses, all of that. Like that is that individuality in this. That is where, like, again, there's tools and tips and things that we give that work, across the board. They're like, okay, this is going to be a vibe for you. But individually, everyone has their different struggles. Yep. And so, that is where, I don't know, just like I am such a proponent of that mental side of, the mental coaching, everything like that, and being able to really capitalize on that, and making it holistic for everybody. So I love that. So what is, something right now, like, feeling good in your body, but knowing you can always, work to be stronger. Right. You always have other goals. You're always continuing to move forward. Besides that, anything like that, like, do you have anything up and coming that you're excited for? Or like, is there any big moments? Do you have a trip? Are you doing anything like for you? Like, what does all that look like?
I have a birthday coming up and nothing planned.
Okay.
So, but I want to do that.
Yeah.
But honestly, my big and up and coming, and this has been this for the past year, is I'm excited to see what my body's going to do.
Yes.
That's my goal.
Yes.
Right? Everybody's like, what's your goal? And I'm like, to see what my body's capable of that I didn't know.
Yeah. I feel that. And like, that's my thing too, is, even with the shows like that, people are like, oh, like, like they assume you're getting back to like what you did before and stuff like that. And like, I don't know about you, but for me, I've had people treat me very differently depending on, like, as I literally watch it. Yeah. As I get smaller, there just starts to be more, DMs, more inbox, more this, more that, ever. Like, and I've been the same this whole time. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay. And so it kind of gets overwhelming in that sense. But anyway, but from there, it's like, okay, I am wanting to be a different, shape on stage, like a different, and different vibe. And I don't know what that looks like. Right. Because again, there's been different intentions, like injury's been healing. There's so many positives that have come with it. So, I don't want anyone that is in their journey right now to be like, man, this is so monotonous, this is so boring, this is so whatever. Yeah. It's like, it's all about your mindset with it. Because if I compare to last year, you know what I mean? Like, I'm already doing a disservice to myself. Right. And so you can't compare to that, or like so, because I guess for me, I am very much like, I love looking at those photos and stuff like that, whatever. But I'm also like, I am still changing as a person. Yep. I am growing. I am rocking with it. Like, so many good things to look at versus just being like, oh, I have to do the cardio again, or oh, I got to do this or whatever. And being thankful that you can move too.
That part.
Yeah.
We it's funny that you said thankful that you can move. We did like a step challenge. Like, we're doing it, and like a lot of people were committing to it. Yeah. And when I saw that a step challenge, I heard this quote one time. It was like something about I used to complain about walking until I saw a man with no feet. Yeah. And I'm like, guys, you walk every day.
Right.
But
we're so easy to forget that, though.
It's going, ooh, it's a challenge. Ooh, I have to walk. It's like, so you're able to walk. Yes. There's been a time in my life where I couldn't walk. Right. Literally.
But if you haven't gone through that trauma, you see what I mean? So it's like, we're so soon to forget. Yeah. Even with like the mass shootings, and all the things that are happening in the world. It's like everyone's so soon to forget, and they're right back to like complaining about all these things. But it's like, if you really genuinely looked at like every morning when I'm able to get my workout in without pain, I'm thankful. Yep. Because I spent 2.5 years in so much pain. Right. You know what I mean? And even before that, like with my back and stuff. So it's like, again, if someone hasn't gone through that, they really can't understand fully. Yeah. But if you can not go through that and still change your mindset, oh my gosh, like, you're so ahead of the curve. It is just a mindset shift. It is talking yourself into like that, you know what I mean? Versus always making this excuse or always focusing on the negative with everything.
That's why I try to share my story a lot. Like, because it's one of those things, it's almost like a double-edged sword. Like, I want to provide value to people. I want to provide them with some, tips in this, but I also want to tell them like where I come from. But I'm like, I'm not trying to make it about me, but I feel like, to me, at least what would work for me is like, okay, I could Google some stuff, right? Yeah. But if I see that, oh my gosh, that's a person, she's real. Yes. Oh, she went through that too. Like, I posted, like, I don't know if you saw the reel I posted yesterday. I was doing like some reverse hacks. Yes. I recorded that for my form. I record almost everything I do.
Same.
It's not necessarily for content. Does
Right.
it turn into content? Sure.
Right.
But I looked at it and I went, oh, right. And then, but I immediately went, no.
Change the mindset.
Because I've changed what I've been wearing in the gym here lately.
Yes,
because I'm
love
like,
it.
you know what? I love my body.
Well, then barbell voodoo shorts I've been seeing. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. But, you know, I'm just like, and even like somebody asked me, like, why don't you wear crop tops? And I'm like, my stomach. And they're like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, you've come a long way.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? You're right.
But again, you shouldn't even have to justify.
Right.
Like,
but,
if you
but in
want,
my head.
right?
Again,
So
and
it is
like,
a
and
constant.
it is who I am.
Yeah. And it's a constant battle. And so
Yep.
it's like, again, it's so wild that it's like, I love it when I see all different sizes, all different bodies, whatever, just wearing what they feel comfortable in and whatever. Like, you know, and again, and that's like me today. Like, I could have been more appropriate and worn like an actual like outfit and jeans, whatever. And I was like, no, not going to do that. You know what I mean?
Cold weather.
But like, I was just like, not going to do that. I got my Ambition, you know, threads flannel, but got my new crop on, got some shorts, whatever, because that is what I feel good in between this kind of weird stage, because I am in between sizes. And it can be frustrating. So it's like, as long as you show up and be comfortable in yourself, you can do anything.
When it's inspiring, because me wearing, just because I've only been doing it for like a week, right? But you wouldn't believe how many comments I've gotten from other women.
Right.
And it just, and I was like, this is why I do what I do, you know? But like I said, in that video, when I was like, oh my gosh, but I looked at these things.
Yeah.
And it, like, my stomach, right? And I, like, immediately I was like, ugh. But I'm like, I'm bent over.
Yep.
Like, I mean, if you want to be honest, like, any woman can pose in a way to look skinny or like she can go on stage. Get her just to like bend over. Her stomach's going to hang, especially if she's ever had a child. But, not everybody.
But yes, but also.
But I see it as a blessing.
Right. And also, too, guys, like when you're looking at yourself, like you're not meant to be one size, one shape, one vibe. Like I can't breathe. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here looking in the mirror. That's me. Like literally all different angles. And that's why too, somebody else said something to me about, you know, it's just interesting about how people are like, oh, like we're all filtered. We're all this, whatever. It's like, no, some of us aren't actually. And some of us don't use filters. And I know that it can make things look better and I don't, or edits or whatever. And even when I do photo shoots, I'm like, hey, can you please not change this or do whatever? And so, but by doing that, you know, I am again setting that example. But what I'm trying to say is that like, it is unrealistic, especially for men, to see that and think that is what she's going to be like all the time. Like if you can't, I've always said, if you can't have me, if you can't have me like when I'm natural hair, curly, pale, and whatever, then you can't have me spray tanned, bodybuilder, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got to decide. Like you have to be cool with all of it, and my bumps and my scars, and when I have a flare up and when I don't, and whatever. Because again, that is
who I am.
That's and that's not going to change.
Nope.
And so instead of fitting into what this man or what this, you know, whoever, you know, wants me to be in and like be, I want to just be my own person. And I've always wanted that, because for so long, guys, I tried it. And I'm not saying that this is like off of non-experience. Like if you've listened, you know, like my whole youth tried to do everything. And I mean, to where I couldn't breathe. And I literally felt like I can't break out of this. And I don't know what to do. And I feel trapped. And that was horrible, because again, I just felt so bad all the time. And so I don't ever want anyone to feel, you know, like that.
Right. And then the crazy part is like how I look now. Like honestly, like my measurements are probably, but I'm not like massively different. Like I'm stronger.
Yeah.
My body is more proportioned properly. But it's like, people talk about, like, I don't say this to be big-headed, because I'm really not, because when people tell me I'm beautiful or gorgeous, or any of this, you know, like the first day I met you said that, and I'm just like, it's going to sound crazy, but I don't see myself like that, because I was the fat little girl. So I don't go off looks, right?
Right.
But it's so crazy, because honestly, and I tell my clients and friends this, I think the most beautiful thing that I wear is just my confidence and just how I walk myself.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody else thinks that I look like.
Right.
I don't care, you know, if I look in the mirror, which sometimes I do, I deal with body dysmorphia because of all the shit that I went through my whole life.
Right. And it is hard for people to see themselves. And I want people to understand that like when you do go through body dysmorphia, I think a lot of people kind of use that term loosely, right? And it's like, truly, guys, like you cannot see where you're at. Like you don't see what it is. Like you look at a picture and you're like, that's not not what I look like. Like to that extreme. And I had that to that extreme, but it has minimized like so much now. But it is still one of those moments where it's like, honestly, I don't know how you perceive me. I don't know how anybody perceives me.
I
don't care.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I just have to focus on how I perceive me. If I rock with it, then I rock with it, you know? And again, loving that throughout is what's going to carry them and keep them going. And so I love that. And I love how you were, you know, able to, you know, spearhead this as well and feel, you know, and set that intention that it is not, it doesn't have to be like, when I say body positivity, people are like, oh, it's like, you didn't love your body that day. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I can't believe I had to like dumb it down to that.
Right.
Like, no, I didn't love that I had like a skin breakout.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I think that I'm ugly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That they don't coincide.
Right.
Guys, like this is very like, that's not what that means. Loving your body throughout means taking it where it's at. That maybe you weren't able to hit the push-ups that you've always been able to hit this day, or you're not able to hit the deadlift that you were able to do before, or whatever. Like that you were able to still look at it and be like, man, but I still was capable. I fought for what I wanted. Or I wore that outfit and like, yeah, like maybe it fit like this way or whatever before, but you know what? I'm rocking it and I had a good time and I enjoyed it.
I liked it.
Yeah, and I liked it. Yeah. Like that's where it has to be. So we have to stop like pushing it all together as one. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So.
Because like with the body dysmorphia thing, there was a video that was recorded of me in the gym.
Yeah.
Like just me doing something. And I looked and as soon as I looked at it, I went, oh my God, my stomach. Right?
Right.
But it was so crazy because this was an amazing moment that I was just like, there it is.
Yeah.
Because maybe like a week later, I looked at the video and I swear to you.
Yeah.
Then when I looked at the video, I saw something completely different.
100%. And you will. And
I was like,
yes. Yes.
There it is. And I actually went and posted the video and everybody talked about it. I'm like, what the hell did I see that first day? It's so...
It is that initial.
It's heartbreaking.
Yes.
To know, be like, why did I see that? And it's crazy because it's like something you think you'd see in a movie because people are like, she's just making that up.
No,
like,
I that happens to me
looked at it
all
and
the
my
time.
stomach was bigger. Like, and it's because when I did something, I had a roll in my stomach and I was like, oh God. Right. And it wasn't me being like, it was just, again, what I saw was what I was verbally abused about in my marriage.
Right.
Like I heard everything he said to me. I heard me being
all the
8.5 months
emotions came
pregnant,
back.
You know, telling me I need to be in the gym and I don't want to be intimate with you because you're fat. And I was pregnant, you know. Like when I see that, I was just like, oh God, I can't post that. But then a week later I looked and I'm like, what the hell?
Exactly.
That is not what I saw a week ago. And I remember calling Antonio going, I can't believe this. Like I was almost in tears.
Right. And that just goes to show you how conditioned we have been from everything that has been talked at us, that has been told to be, and how we need to look and what we need to do and everything like that. So with that, you know, I just want to say that, you know, I really hope that people can lean into that and know that emotions are not like they are temporary. They are not permanent. And it's easy for that to happen, come back to us, but then we review it, we save those videos, we save those pictures, put them in an album, whatever we got to do, all these techniques that you and me both help people with, but like help them with, you know, to understand that like that right there, that is temporary. It will go away. And, you know, you will feel a different type of way about yourself. I guarantee you, whether it's positive or negative. So. This like boss chick here, you know, and for me, it's so great to know you, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. So keep up the great work. I'm always here for support if you need it, because I get it, and we all have these moments, we all have these times. But yeah, you know, guys, if you listened, please go follow Sabrina. What's your Instagram handle for everybody?
It's Coach Sabrina Fisher.
Okay, love it. And you can follow her on Instagram. I'll be tagging her as well. But yeah, she's just a great spirit, great energy, and we loved having you on today.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure being on.
Thanks, girl.
All right.